Welcome to the Getting High with Grandma podcast. I'm Scott, and with me, as always, is Grandma. So, yeah, before we jump into it, we'll get down to business real quick. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And
Nice
you can,
ones.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
yeah, nice. Yeah, we don't need any haters. Or you can even email us at gettinghighwithgrandma@gmail.com. And you guys know the routine. If you like our content, make sure to share it. That's the most important thing, because we all know what's going on with YouTube. Subscribe and like the video. Hit the like button. And at the end of the video, there'll be a link to our Patreon account and PayPal account if you want to make donations. We'd love to get some better equipment so we can bring you the best possible content. Because we're just kind of running on some cheap stuff right now, huh, Grandma?
That's right. You know what we were talking about? I want to talk about school dances. The different, and you were telling me they don't have them.
Yeah.
Scott has a child. He's what, 10?
He'll be 12 next month.
12. Real bright boy, very talented. He's our graphic designer.
Yeah, he designed our logo.
Yes, he did. His name is Xavier. He's the greatest. Anyway, they evidently don't do school dances
Yeah, today's his
at night.
first dance. He's in 6th grade, and he's so excited about it. And like Joanne and I were talking, I went to dances at night, and now they're in the daytime at school. That takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah, well, when I went to school, they didn't have dances, period. You know, we're talking now the early 70s. I was in junior high school, and we were going to the race ride
In San Francisco.
in San Francisco. And I remember, I'll never forget, we had the Black Panthers literally marching down Mission Street, military style, with AK-47s.
That'd be scary.
It was scary. It was scary. It was scary to go to school every day because the black people were angry. Okay, I don't know any other word to say. I can't say what they were because
You're not black.
I'm not black, right? But they were angry. Okay, and they took it out on everybody. Okay, I remember trying to leave school one day and they had all the corners, blocked, and what they were doing was rat packing and beating up anybody trying to leave school and, telling them, you made us slaves and this and that. And I was a loner. I've always been a loner. And I came walking down the street and they tried to circle me and rat pack me and tell me how my people made them slaves and this and that. And I says, obviously you missed history class. I said, I'm only second generation here, okay? My people had nothing to do with making you slaves. And they just said, oh, let her go. She just crazy, okay? So I skated, but yes, it was.
How long was it? Like, how long did that last for?
All the way to high school. I remember.
The race riots?
Yeah, I didn't go to high school. Okay, after junior high. Okay, come high school now. These people are bigger and more angry, and they started busing in San Francisco. So we had a lot of the black people that were from Hunters Point, and they were bused over to our schools. Okay, and in high school it was so bad. They were throwing desks out windows. They had riots at school every day, and so I just quit going.
You went to high school with a bunch of black people, right?
I didn't. Well, yeah, but I didn't go to high school. Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I says, there's no way. They ended up taking me to juvenile court for truancy. And the judge said to me, why are you not going to school? I said, they have nothing to teach me that's worth getting shot, stabbed, or beat up. Okay, I'm just not doing it. And he said, well, if you think you're so smart, he says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the test, the entrance exam to City College. He says, you take this test, and if you pass, I'll give you your high school diploma. Well, I was only 15, 16 at the time, maybe. No, probably 15. Anyway, I took this test and I scored and passed. Okay, and my parents were shocked. What are we gonna do with her now? She's got a high school diploma, she doesn't have to go to school, and the judge said, I'll give her emancipation too. So I was emancipated at 15 years old.
How long after that did your parents divorce?
They were in the process of getting divorced
Oh.
at that time.
And then your dad was probably like, why am I gonna have her around? I can't control her. She's emancipated.
Well, we were done, him and I were done anyway. That's a
Yeah.
done subject. But so anyway, now here I had this high school diploma. You can't work until you're 16. Okay, so I had a year on the streets to do nothing.
How'd you survive?
Well, I ran into this guy. He was I call him my guardian angel. Okay, some people might say differently, but his name was Jay, and he was a Hispanic guy. He was a heroin addict, all right? And he taught me scams that you couldn't believe, okay? One, we were professional shoppers, and we went into the grocery store and we shopped like we were a couple and went up and down the aisles. Well, while we're in the meat department, he's shoving meat down his jacket, stuffing himself in.
Ribeyes.
And then he'd say to me, oh, we forgot the mayonnaise. Well, that was my clue to go out in the parking lot and get the car and come up to the door, and he'd come out of the market and get in the car and we'd take off. The weird thing is these guys this Italian group from Mission Street. You know, they were the drinking generation, and they were all against drug addicts and junkies and blah, blah, blah. But what they did was they gave us a list of what they wanted. Prime rib, T-bone steaks, this and that. And so while we're boosting this meat, we would bag it. And if the total came to $250, we charged them $125. Okay, so,
50 cents on the dollar.
you know, a little hypocritical that you should be so against heroin addicts, which I ended up getting involved in myself, you know, and
It's crazy the hustles you come up with when you have to.
you want to hear another good one he had? We would go to San Francisco Airport, and he's taking spare tires out of people's cars. Now we're talking about, these are the days when spare tires were kept in your trunk, and they were tires.
They weren't donuts.
Yeah, not little donuts, okay? So anyway, I said to him one day, I says, you know, wouldn't it be a little more lucrative to take the stereos? And he goes, I'll tell you what, you take one stereo out of a car and it's gonna be reported, and security is gonna be on high alert
Smart.
in these parking lots. He says we could take their spare tires,
Months, years.
and it could take them months to realize it's gone and never know where it was gone from. And then we had a tire dealer in San Francisco who would pay us $25 a tire. Okay? I kept us high for days.
You were 15?
I was 15, and this probably went on till I was 16, 17 when I started bartending. I started bartending at 17 years old.
That's amazing. When I was 15,
And only because he died. Okay?
OD,
No, he was in county jail for a burglary, petty burglary. And he had gotten out and called me up and asked me if he could stay at my home. And I told him, only if you're gonna stay straight, because while he was gone and missing in jail, I had kicked the habit. Okay, so.
was that tough?
No, well, not too bad, but I wasn't a heavy duty user,
You
you
weren't
know.
strung out.
You know, I wasn't real, you know, it was uncomfortable, but
You were a functioning addict.
I was a lightweight. Okay, so anyway, We were driving down the street and the cops pull us over and they're running us for warrants and they're telling me that they're pulling him in because he has outstanding warrants. I said, that can't be true. They just released him from county jail, okay?
Yeah.
Well, they took him in anyway. So I'm hustling around trying to find out what's going on and could not bail him out. Well, I went up to the police precinct where they had taken him and wanted to know what the bail is, and they told me, don't worry about bail because he's gone. I said, what do you mean he's gone? Where is he gone to? They said he committed suicide. He hung himself from a short waistcoat leather jacket from a bunk bed that he happened to stand taller than. Okay, and so I knew it wasn't true. They said he was on drugs at the time. I knew that wasn't true.
He was Epstein.
So I ran down to this group called La Raza. They represented any Hispanic group that had problems with
There was one in Portland.
legal problems. Oh, I'm sure they're nationwide.
Yeah.
So anyway, I explained the story to them, ran it all down to them. Well, they couldn't use me as a witness because I was a minor. I was 17 years old. Okay.
But you were emancipated.
Yes, but you're still a minor. You're emancipated.
Oh, it just means you can take care of yourself.
That's right. But you're still a minor, and so I had to back away from the situation and let them handle it. And whatever came down to it, I don't know, because I didn't know his family or anything like that. So
I imagine that happens a lot because
oh yeah.
they
They did. I do know that they ran an investigation. Okay, that's the best part. It's Ingleside Police Station in San Francisco. Okay, they ran a background investigation and they had 101 cases of people.
what's that called?
Internal affairs, and people who had died under their custody. Okay, 101. There was one case who was also a Hispanic gentleman. They said that he threw himself against the bars so many times that he had over 120 multiple contusions. Now you tell me how you get up off the floor after number 89 and keep throwing yourself against these bars, okay? It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so there were a lot of things going on. So there went high school and
When I was a kid, I was resourceful too. I didn't live on the streets or anything, but like my buddies and I, we had this lick where, remember when you take your cans or bottles back and you give them to the person in the back of the store, they'd come back and write you a ticket? Do you ever remember that? Oh, you were in California.
yeah, I was in California.
In Oregon, you take your like garbage bag full of things to the back of the store. Some guy would come out, take it back, and then he'd come back and he'd write you a ticket, $8 or something like that, $12. You take it up and you get it from the cashier. A buddy of mine, his brother worked at Safeway and he stole one of the pads. And so me and my 4 buddies, every day for probably a year, we each write one for like $7.50, $12, $13, and we'd go buy a bag of weed and a bunch of beef jerky every day after school.
Well, now don't be promoting crime here. You know, of course, I'm in the airport taking spare tires, so I didn't have time to turn in plastic bottle sheets or.
I bet we recycle less now because of them stupid machines. You know what I mean? I bet less people recycle because nobody wants to go stand in that nasty ass room.
And that's the stupidest recycling system I have ever seen in my life. I do not recycle here in Oregon, and I'm sorry to say it's because of that stupid. I am not standing there and feeding one can at a time. When in California, they changed a lot of systems. First they used to weigh it, but then, you know, of course, everybody gets smart and starts putting a bolt in the can.
Just a lick.
And so, you know, of course, it's going to weigh more. Then they did away with that system. And the best one, the last one since I was there, They just ran it up a conveyor belt, and there was a little ticker at the top of the conveyor belt, and it counted the cans, and you were paid accordingly. Okay, uh, and you dumped it all in a big bin. You didn't sit there and put one can at a time on the damn conveyor belt. Okay, that's crazy.
And even though they raise it to 10 cents, it's still not even about the money. It's like, I feel bad throwing them away. You know what I mean? And you got to consider too where we live, like Portland and other major cities. I think Bend even has it where those plastic containers, you know, you can put your glass in when you take your garbage out, you put your recycling out, and then the recycling company comes and picks it up.
Yeah, they used to have that in Sacramento too.
Well, yeah,
You
Portland, we have big yellow ones.
Yeah, we had a big, like a trash can out front. They need to do something here. This is crazy. Yes, I throw them away.
I do too sometimes.
Except
Absolutely.
I've been saving my cans for X lately.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's fine. But no, I won't recycle plastic or, I'm just not doing it until they come up with a,
Yeah.
you know, and what do they do anyway? I know I hear India. I was reading an article that India has taken plastic bottles and plastic things and have been able to make roads out of them. Okay, and these roads so far have lasted 70 years. Okay, so you know this is
Cool.
yeah, if you do something with it, you know, but
Who was I listening? Bill Burr, this comedian, and he's so funny. But he was talking about how every old fad is out in the ocean on a barge somewhere. Think about razor scooters or rollerblades. Where'd they go? There's barges out in the middle of the ocean that are just full of garbage, and that drives me. I don't know why we still make styrofoam.
you know, when I was a merchant marine, and like I said, it was back early in the 70s, so nobody was on this big recycle contamination, you know, it wasn't. But I remember we were working out on deck, painting the decks, and these guys were taking the buckets, empty buckets of paint, and throwing them overboard. And I kind of went, you know, my mind went like this. I like shellfish and I like fish, but I told them, guys, you know, there's a lot of paint, and this is lead paint, okay? You're
Oh,
painting
it
these
was-
ships
yeah.
with lead paint, and there was residue in the buckets and stuff, and they would just throw them overboard, and I'm going, well, gone are the days of me eating any fish, okay? I'm not doing it.
And I've heard or read places that mercury's big in fish now. Like the mercury levels in them is like crazy in a lot of places now.
Well, I don't know what mercury is, but all I know is if those fish are breathing, and it's not just, you know what, think about this. All these wars we've had, and you've bombed and blown up ships and airplanes flying over the ocean, and you've blown these things up. Well, where do you think all this debris goes? In the ocean. Okay, and what is it doing? And what was on those ships? Oil, fuel, weapons.
Have you ever seen the movie Lord of War
No.
with Nicolas Cage? You should watch that. It's about that. Like when after wars are over, what happens with all the guns? He became a warlord. He would go buy them for dirt cheap and then sell them to the next country that's having a war. And I think it was
Who's
based on a true
buying them
story.
if they're sitting at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh,
That's
those
what I'm
ones,
talking
yeah.
about. We were talking about what's in the ocean, okay? They're just all that crap is sitting at, okay, and metal doesn't deteriorate, and they still have the Titanic that you could see underwater. So I know that all these military ships that were bombed out in the ocean are still sitting at the bottom of the ocean, seeping God knows what they were carrying.
I was so brainwashed to be patriotic when I was a kid, by school, by everything, and now that
Yeah, well,
I justified our positions in wars throughout history. Now that I look back, there's no point of war.
no, there isn't.
None.
No, it's all greed. Greed, money, greed, you know.
The 0.001% of the world that They finish a war, they make all this equipment, sell it to the government for outlandish money.
It's very sad, but even as a little kid, I don't know where I got this mind. I never, uh,
Were you a hippie?
I was a little young to be a hippie.
That was right before you.
It was a little bit a few years ahead of me, maybe 3, 4 years ahead of me. I wasn't, I was always into the money because, again, it was all about survival for me.
You're like, I
Okay,
can't control that. I'm not gonna worry
peace,
about it.
love, and happiness, that's all fine and dandy. My whole thing was peace, love, and happiness. Want to buy some pot? Okay, I'm telling you, I had to make some money. But,
That was a good time to sell pot, probably.
oh, yeah. Anything. Well, and I shouldn't say that because during the hippie days, I do remember when people gave drugs away. It didn't matter what it was, speed, pot, psychedelics. It was
It wasn't greed.
It was all about sharing it and letting everybody taste what good drugs you had. So it wasn't about the money. I don't think it became the money until the late 70s.
Yeah.
Then at least for me, I started my little.
My whole drug life, it was always about the money, but I'm only 40.
Well,
but
that's your time.
I wanted to ask you, in the 80s, I heard somebody say, like cocaine was everywhere. And they would give it away.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about giving it away. No, it was always a very costly high, but everybody was doing it.
It was
Okay,
easy to find.
the police were doing it. The people were doing it. The accountant down the street was doing it. It was everybody. Cocaine. When cocaine was running rapid, I don't think there's too many people who could say I never tried it.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was a wonderful drug. As far as I'm concerned with drugs,
Everything.
I think everything should be legal. Everything, okay, everything. And it goes like this: if you're stupid and you do too much and you OD, well, out of the gene pool, stupid, okay? Because the whole word is moderation. You can use without taking your life, okay?
Well, you and I both have had times in our life where we did harder drugs than what, we smoke weed and I have a drink occasionally. Yeah.
Now.
But I think a lot of people outgrow it.
If they live.
Then the herd.
That's what I say. Out of the gene, I remember back in the days of acid. Okay.
I used to love acid.
It never agreed with my system, but they were, at least in San Francisco, they were talking about people who, because of this acid, they jumped off a building and died. Well, people, acid does not make you stupid, okay? It takes you on a little trip. Now, if you're stupid enough to jump off a damn building, I don't think it had anything to do with the acid.
I saw a documentary on, I don't know if it's the specific case, but it was probably 60s, 70s, and it was the government had given it to a guy and didn't tell him. And he jumped out a window. His family sued the CIA for it.
Oh, yeah?
Just not too long ago, I believe. It was a fascinating documentary. Imagine that. Every time I did acid, an hour into it, I'm like, why did I do this? But I've done it like 20 times, you know what I mean?
The strychnine in the acid used to hurt me.
The back pain.
Yeah, I had, and so again, I'm not stupid, okay? If something makes me hurt, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Okay, and so I took acid maybe 3-4 times. I think the last time I took acid.
How much was it when you did it?
$2 a hit, $3
to $5 when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was a cheap high.
Yeah, back to so many memories. Gosh, so many memories. experimenting. Back to your issue of them
Oh,
experimenting
yeah.
with the acid on this guy. Well, we had a lot of experimental drugs because of Berkeley. Berkeley was right across the bay, okay? And these students,
That's Haight Ashbury, right?
no, Haight Ashbury's in San Francisco. Berkeley's across the bay over near Oakland,
Oakland.
you know, and but the college was a progressive college, and a lot of these students were hippies that went to Berkeley, and they were indulging in experimenting with drugs, you know, and I'm sure they did a lot of research and everything else. There was this powder that came out, and it was only out for a short while, so I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect it was an experimental drug out of Berkeley, and it was THC powder.
Yeah, you were telling me about
And
that.
it was white powder, and you snorted it, okay? And you were high like you were on pot for all day. Me and this kid in junior high, we cut school and we did this THC powder. We were so high, we were walking in there's a big park behind our school. It was called McLaren Park. And we found this long piece of rope just hanging around, you know, laying on the ground. I got this bright idea that, you know, he could get in one tree and I can get in another tree. And they had horse cops, San Francisco cops on horses that would patrol this park, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling him, you know, we could wait until this cop comes by and drop this rope and yank him off his horse. Okay?
Fuck, how are you?
We're real high. Okay, real high. And thank God the cop never came by because that was my intentions. Okay, I was so high I couldn't get out of that tree until about 8 o'clock at night. You know?
The highest I've ever been my sophomore year in high school, right after my lunch break, was global studies, and he was actually my wrestling coach too. My buddy Zach Parker and I, we got an eighth at lunch, smoked it all except for like one bud. I hadn't eaten all day. I was so high, and the classroom was like a half moon, and then his desk was in the middle. I go down and I sit down, and I'm like, I can't do this. I gotta get out of here. So I was like, I'm just gonna go ask him if I can go to the bathroom and go home or whatever. I go up there, I'm like, hey, can I go to the bathroom? And he goes, wait till after attendance. The next thing I know, I'm looking up at the ceiling in the classroom, in the middle of the classroom.
Oh,
And I was kind of the minority in my high school. There were a lot of everything in my high school. And I'm sitting there looking up, and he's like, Scott, and he's my wrestling coach. He's like, you do any drugs today? And I'm like, no, man, no. The funny thing was, he was high every day after lunch, our teacher. I had to be wheeled all the way across my high school in a wheelchair by the nurse.
oh my God, what was in this pot?
It was just because we smoked so much and I hadn't eaten.
Oh,
And it was just like,
that was probably what it was.
Yeah.
It's the not eating. I couldn't blame that on the pot.
oh, I wouldn't, no.
Yeah.
But after that, it was so funny. I'd be walking down the hall and the black dudes in my class would be like, hey, that's a white boy. It's the good weed.
You know, I had a teacher one time, and he was talking. This was probably 7th, 8th grade. He was talking about pot smokers, and he says, you know, I can tell everybody who's a pot smoker. He says every pot smoker says, you know.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? You know? And I listened and he, you know, he was, you know, there you go. You know, he was right.
Well, you told me that a long time ago, and then last week or something you mentioned it. You said, you know, and I don't know. And I was like, after that, I've been so conscious. I say it so much.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And then
You know?
this was before the Rich clips. And he'd say, I can also tell you, everybody hold out your hands. And he went up and down the aisles and he's going, pot smoker, not, pot smoker. And I thought, what the hell is he looking at? And I realized it's the resin. The resin that's at the end of your fingers, right? And I went, oh, son of a bitch. So we started using the match covers. We would split the match covers and roll it and use that for a rush clip so you wouldn't get the resin on your fingers. Yeah, because I mean, if a teacher could tell that, so can a cop, right?
Did you ever have one of the roach clips with like the pink feather on it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, those are for fancy dancy wannabe hippies.
Like in the 80s, my sister's 10 years older than me, grew up in the 80s. They'd like wear them in their hair. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah, you know, here's another one about wannabe hippies. There was this girl, 7th grade. You know, now this is the days everybody's doing drugs of some kind, okay? And she was just bragging about how she was a hippie and how she'd done mescaline and she'd done acid and blah, blah, blah. And I says to her, you know, you want to buy some acid? My brother-in-law, my ex, a digestive problem, okay? He would never get hungry. And so, because he was never hungry, he never ate, and he was just a skinny little shit, right? So, was prescribed these pills that looked just like barreled acid. And I took those to school and I sold them to this wannabe hippie. And she came back to school the next day and was telling everybody, oh, yeah, man, you should have seen the trails, or the colors were so vibrant. I says, well, anytime you want some more, honey, you know?
Hell yeah.
Oh.
The one time I got sold bad drugs, I worked at a car wash on MLK, Martin Luther King Boulevard in Portland. And I was outside and it was on a busy street, and this black dude walks by. He's like, hey, you want to buy some weed? I'm like, what do you got? He's like, dime bag. I'm like, okay. And so he was being all shady, trying to hide the transaction. I'm like, okay. I go in the office and I pull it out, and he had taken damp yellow pages and rolled them up, and it kind of looked like weed. I was so pissed.
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't in the habit of selling bad drugs, but I didn't like
That's bad juju.
I didn't like I'm sure I paid for it. I'm sure I've paid for any bad juju I may have coming. I've paid for it and then some.
So I want to ask you, you're a joint smoker.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing this lady smokes is joints.
Well, except for now with this hand, I've been forced to use a pipe, and I just hate them.
My rolling skills have improved, would you say?
Well,
compared to the...
Yeah,
they're
getting better.
They're better than your other
God,
friends.
Yeah. I can't believe I have all these pot smoking friends and none of them can roll joints. Okay, I'm stuck trying to smoke out of a pipe because of this cast on my hand. Oh, did I tell you what the doctor said? My chief complaint. I went to the doctor and I told him, you know, I expected not to be able to open jars and not to be able to tie my shoes, but I didn't expect not to be able to roll. And I'm telling the doctor, I says, you know, this is really a problem because if I need to do anything, I need to roll.
And you don't like the pre-rolls at the dispensary.
I know, well...
They're not that bad, but...
And again, it's the shake of the bag. Okay, what we used to call the shake of the bag, they're not taking the bud and rolling that in those pre-rolls. I can tell by the way they burn.
And they separate the keef that should be in the bottom.
Whatever. It's the shake of the bag. Okay, that's the bottom of the barrel. I don't like it. So anyway, back to my chief complaint. I can't roll, and I told the doctor. I says, this is really a problem, and he goes, only because I know you're not kidding. I'm going to tell you that rolling action is the worst thing you could do for the tendon and the thumb that I just operated on. And I went, oh. So,
that's the coolest thing about you, Grandma, is you're brutally honest. You're like, I'm not doing anything wrong. You don't mess with anybody, but you live your life the way you want to live your life, and you don't apologize for shit. I respect the hell out of that.
Well, I don't see who I owe an apology to. It's my life. I'll do, you know.
You're a rarity, though.
You know, back to talking about making everything legal. My attitude in life has always been, even as a kid, I remember saying to myself, this is my life, okay? And y'all could make all the rules you want to make, and you could make all the laws you want to make, and you know what I'm going to do? Whatever the hell I want to. That's what I'm going to do.
It just occurred to me, when did you stop living your life for your parents' approval.
I never.
See, that's the
I
difference.
never. In fact, I didn't want. First of all, you weren't going to get any approval from my parents. My parent,
Your dad.
no, I'm not going to just blame it on my dad. My dad and mother were, I don't know, totally not a good match. But I'm number 2 out of 6 children, okay? And I never seen these two hold hands, kiss each other, or even talk nice to each other, okay? And they had 6 children. So getting approval from them was just, I knew as a very, very young child, it ain't gonna happen. Okay, they were fighting and arguing. They got 6 kids running around. Who the hell's got time to give you approval? No.
Subconsciously, I still do. I want my parents to be proud of me. But you let that go years ago. A lot of people are the way I am. They may not realize it, but I think about it. I'm like, every time I talk to my mom, I'm like, I hope, I'm happy with who I am now. But back in the day,
Well, if you were waiting for my parents to be proud of you or approve of you or anything else, you were wasting your time because they just weren't there. Okay, they weren't there. It wasn't in their makeup.
do you think that dynamic affected how your relationships down the road went?
Well, there's no doubt about that. It affected my whole life. It made me who I am. Okay, and I guess through all their dysfunction and their craziness, I kind of liked the person I grew up to be. I'm not sure they liked it, and I'm not, and I do find a lot of people do. Who knows, but I didn't care. I do remember telling myself, I don't care. And I'll tell you why, because if you did care, you would be my sister Barbara. She was such a good girl. She really was. She was religious. She was a straight A student. She was the second mom in the house. She helped my mother out all the
She was
time.
the oldest.
Yeah, she was the oldest, but she was also very sensitive. And with that sensitivity, my parents beat her to the ground, okay? You could not be, and this is why I grew up saying to myself, you cannot be sensitive, okay? Because these two don't care. They don't care, and they're going to beat you to the ground, and the more sensitive you were and the more you cared, the more you were going to get hurt, okay? And so I said, to hell with that. Okay, to hell with that. And I didn't care as much as they didn't care for me. Yeah. I told myself, for much as they didn't care for me, I was not going to care about them, nor anything they had to say, do, or tell me. And I'm not saying that's the right attitude to have. Don't look at me like that.
No, I'm thinking.
I know it's not the right attitude to have. I'm not promoting anything bad here, children. Don't take me as an example of life. But no, I grew up saying, I don't care.
It's so funny, as I've gotten to know you the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever, and I heard your stories and heard about your mom and dad, I can totally see a little bit of each in you. You know what I mean? Totally.
Oh, so can I.
Big time.
So can I. When I was little, though, they used to say I was just like my father, and I might have been. I might have been. I'll tell you, he had me so wound, okay? So wound that at 12 years old, I was sick with ulcers. Okay, these two fought so much that I was puking blood at 12 years old.
Stressed out?
Stressed out because the house was totally just
chaotic with that many kids and
screaming and yelling and fighting and arguing. It was horrendous.
What nationality are you? Second generation?
Yeah, I'm Yugoslav, Serbian, as my grandmother.
Are both your parents that?
Yes.
Oh wow.
So anyway, they take me to the doctors because that's how sick I was. And, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe I give them too much credit. You would think these doctors would have took my blood pressure or something, but obviously they didn't because they prescribed me Valium.
How old were you?
12.
Holy shit.
And this Valium had I now know I have very low blood pressure. Okay, so this Valium had me out for the count. I was comatose on the couch, couldn't go to school, couldn't do anything. My sister Barbara screaming at my parents, would you look at her? She can't even function, she's out of it, right? Of course, they were too busy to pay attention or anything else. And my sister pulled me aside and said, here, try some of this. And she turned me on to pot.
Barbara?
And that was the savior of my life. Downward the Valiums. I no more Valiums, and I started smoking pot from that day forward. And I've been smoking pot pretty much for 50 years.
I quit when my son was born because I was like freaked out. I was like, I don't want to go to jail and like smoke a joint and pass out, and my kid like suffocates himself with the pill. You know what I mean? Random
Being
stuff.
a responsible
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah, and I hate newborns. They're the most boring things in the world. They're so fragile, and it's just like I don't want nothing to do with it. You deal with it for a while. You know what I mean? And then once they start crawling, I'm like, yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, but you took on a job that most fathers don't take on. You were mother and father.
Yeah, well, when they were real little, Mom was around.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was when she bailed when Xavier was 3, 4.
Oh, okay.
So she handled the breastfeeding and stuff like that, you know. But that blows my mind. And it used to really bother me. People would give me kudos because I was a single dad, and I'm like, I'm just doing what any parent who loves their kid would do.
No, that's not true.
That any parent who loves their kid would do?
No, parents, see, using that word love comes very easy. It's very easy to say, I love my child, okay? But love is taking care of that child, raising that child, see, my mom and my mother loved all us children. I shouldn't say she didn't, but part of having children is taking care of those children.
I take it serious.
You take it serious, and that's what a good parent should do. Okay, you don't have 6 children and let them freaking run wild, and nobody's getting cared for. Everybody's running wild. The house is a chaotic mess. No, that's not the proper way. You're doing a hard job, and
Joanne, I'm so lucky though because Xavier's the lowest maintenance kid. You know him. He's an old soul.
Yeah, well,
He's more mature than I am.
like I told you before, be careful what you say. Okay? Remember when you
Oh.
told me, you said, my child never get,
I wish he'd get in trouble
I
more.
wish he would get in trouble more, and then he didn't check in, and
That same
you
day.
had a cow, okay, and you had a fit about it, and I'm going, didn't you wish he would get in trouble more? And he did, and you didn't like it.
But later that evening, I actually apologized to him because
Or
the next day when you pointed it out.
My point is be careful what you
Yeah.
say. He is a wonderful boy.
Yeah.
But
The thing is,
you're not done yet. Okay?
What?
You're not done yet.
He's 12.
He's only 12. You still got 13, 14.
And he's about to hit puberty.
The worst ones are 15, 16, and thank God he's a little guy like you. Because the problem usually becomes that when they hit 16, 17, they're starting to get bigger than you. Bigger and stronger, okay? And so now you're trying to tell this grown child
I had to break it down to X because he's worried about his size. Because it's happening now. His friends are twice his size. Same thing for me. I wrestled 99 pounds my freshman year. I didn't hit puberty till I was like 25. You know what? It's like I was a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I don't look 40.
Everybody's different. We all can't be the same.
But I told him, I said, I hated it just like you do. But dude, I promise you, when you get older, you'll love it.
I was always the littlest. In fact, with all my siblings are all good size. You know, they're all big people. And
Yeah.
I'm just, of course, everyone, my sister Barbie used to tell me that's because I'm a very of small stature, you know, and
Small snapper.
and I'm the only dark child. Okay, my mother was blonde hair, blue-eyed, as white could be.
Your mom was
Okay.
gorgeous.
Yes, she was a beautiful woman. And my dad, he was white too, but he had dark hair. But for some odd reason, I was born with
Say
dark.
habla español.
We
I've been with
see.
you when
Yeah,
people
I
speak
know.
to you Spanish.
I'm mistaken for a lot of nationalities. I'm mistaken for Hispanic. I'm mistaken for Middle Eastern. I get American Indian a lot.
You and
But
X are the same.
It's because I have the darker color, right?
And you don't have any, but like you said, that one lady could have swore you were Native American.
Oh yeah, because
You
I
have certain
I have
features.
Certain feature. I call it an international look. That's all. But I swear I was going.
Oh, let me, X man, because he's the same as you. He's olive complected. You can't tell where he's from, and I have no idea where his mom's dad was from. So I don't know a lot of his heritage. You know what I mean? I used to tell him, you can be whoever you want today. You can be Filipino. You can be Mexican.
Well, the state of California says I'm another, and that was, talk about a learning experience. Okay, I get arrested and incarcerated. And they, while they're doing their intake, they're classifying everybody, okay? You're white, you're black, you're Hispanic, you know. Well, this officer goes, check Hispanic. And I looked at her and I said, I'm not Hispanic. You can't check Hispanic. I said, Sue, ever heard of a Hispanic with the last name of Kolchak? Okay, that's just not happening, okay? Well, she says, I can't check you as Caucasian. I said, well, you know what? My blonde-haired, blue-eyed mother's gonna be highly shocked to find out that her daughter's no longer Caucasian. She says, I'm sorry, I just can't classify you as Caucasian. She says, I'm gonna classify you as a other. I said, what the hell is an other? Okay? And she says, an other is anything that is other if you are, how would they term it?
Like not clearly Asian,
Yeah,
Hispanic,
if you
black.
are not visibly and Hispanic,
It was
white,
clear.
black, it had to be clear. And if you are not clear, it's another. And you know, I let it go.
That's a hard classification.
Yeah, I let it go. I kind of like, again, falling into the oddity group, right? And other was an oddity group, and you know, they housed you.
Like a ward, is that what they call them?
They housed you according to color. All whites are housed with whites, all blacks are housed with blacks, and all others are housed with others. Well, in this whole prison, okay, and there was only one women's prison in California at the time. In the whole prison, there were only 6 others.
Now, in the other populations, how many people were there?
Oh, lots.
Like in the blacks and the.
Lots, lots, 100, hundreds.
So it was just you and.
You know, it's 6 others, and so
I had it nice. I bet.
had a room to my. I had a room. I had a cell to myself, and I loved it. So everything else went by classification too. If you wanted a job, or if you wanted to get into an educational class, they had to select so many whites, so many blacks, so many Hispanics, and so many others. Well, there were only 6 of us, so we always got what we were requesting, okay? And I thought, this is great. So ever since I got out, now I notice on all our government forms and everything, they have a little box for other.
So you
Okay?
check it?
Oh, I always check it. State of California says I am an other, and you know when I did realize it wasn't too idiotic because I met this gal who was very obviously, she had olive complexion, she had oriental eyes, but she had the black nose and lips, and she was very obviously mixed black and oriental. So she was classified other. There was another black gal who had the pigmentation disease, and she was more white than she had splotches of black, but all black features. She was classified an other.
It makes me feel like you weren't really an other then.
Well, I was so dark. I had just come back from South America. Okay, I had
Oh,
been,
you're one of those who tan.
I had been smuggling cocaine back and forth to South America, and that's what got me into the prison. And we'll get into that another time. But yeah, I was so dark that I could understand now
Being on the ship.
where being down in South America
Yeah.
and on a ship. And
I wanted to ask because all the grandkids out there, sorry, the merchant marines. A lot of them think it's the military. Clarify that. A lot of people think that
no, merchant marines, man,
because they're not around anymore.
no, they're not around anymore, and that's another story. But merchant marines manned private ships, Standard Oil, Chevron Oil. We used to have passenger ships in this country. There was the Mariposa and the Monterey, and they were like these cruise lines, right? And then there was Prudential Grace Lines, and they had 4 ships: Santa Maria, Santa Mariana, whatever.
I picture those big ships with containers stacked on them.
Yes, and those were usually Standard Oil or somebody like that, and I worked on those too. But I basically, I made a couple of trips to the Orient, and it just,
So you lived on a ship.
well, yeah, for 7 months.
That's crazy.
7 months on, 5 months off.
I've always meant to ask you, were you the only woman on it?
I was always the only woman. Like I said, they snuck me into the
And
Union.
you were 17.
You know, I was 17 when I started, yeah.
You're a badass, man. That's
You know,
crazy. And that's a good paying
It
job.
was excellent money, but it came to an end when they gave away the Panama Canal. Okay, when they gave the Panama Canal away as a goodwill gift, okay, see, first of all, when they built that canal, they could have put the Panamanian people to work, okay?
Carter.
It was at the time a poor country. Okay, so you build this Panama Canal, but you don't put their people to work, and they were very angry about it, and I don't blame them. Okay, so when we gave them the Panama Canal as a goodwill gift, Panama said, "Thank you very much. Now all American ships will go last in line, and you will pay twice as much to go through." Okay, and all the companies went, "What? What?" So what they did was they just switched flags. Chevron Oil was the first, Standard Oil. We lost our passenger ships because they couldn't pay the fees. It wasn't financially behooving. And so what they did was they just changed their flag from American flag to Panamanian and Liberian flag. Okay, and under those countries' flags, they no longer had to keep up with safety codes, they no longer had to keep up with health codes, and they no longer had to hire the United States Merchant Marine. Okay, so there went that career.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. It's funny you say that because you told me that story about the Panama Canal. I happened to watch a documentary like a month ago on the Panama Canal. It was basically what you just said. They
Mm,
broke it down. I think it was Carter who gave it back, or
I think it was Jimmy Carter.
yeah,
Yeah. And he did right. It was a goodwill gift, and they should have given it to him. Okay, and I'm sorry I lost a career over it, but I'm just a little nobody. Okay, we're talking world.
How long were you a merchant marine?
10 years, 10, 11 years.
That's a long time.
It was a long time.
And you did it at the perfect age. That's when you can go travel the world. I think it's easier. And then now for you,